everyone, Jono here. Welcome to part 2 of the Spellcaster video. In the first run we successfully slapped Nitemare upside the head, literally, and beat the game with base Spellcasters, so let's slap a star on the board with that one. But this isn't the limit of our power when it comes to Spellcasters. There are still 9 monsters that weren't available to us in the final 6. Before I jump into things, I just want to recap 2 things this video will cover which weren't included in the original one. Numero uno, I will show a run through of the final 6 using Pocketstation Spellcasters. Number 2, I'll cover off all the trivia not included in part 1. Strap yourselves in, there's a lot of it. I understand parts of this video may not be for everyone, so please feel free to use the timestamps to skip to the parts you want to see. So with that said, we whip out our Pocketstations and obtain Exodia legs via infrared, granting him the ability to walk again. This is harder than you think, because for me, my PAL region remotes kept giving me Blue Eyes White Dragon for some reason. Must be something to do with the IR header. I can go for the rest of the pieces using this method, but instead, I'll save myself the headache and farm them from Duelmaster K, Bandit Keith and Seto3. For those of you that saw this on Twitch, this was a headache. I should have just used the Pocketstation. Anywho, we then obtained Dark Magic Ritual via the card lottery. Let's assume for the sake of this video, I was able to get it working. It's failing because my device has already redeemed a copy of it. Jumping to Communication Fusion, we mix ourselves a Cosmo Queen, Magician of Black Chaos, and Mask of Shine and Dark. We finally assemble our deck and it looks like this. This is the first deck where we've used all 5 pieces of Exodia, so I'm hoping to trigger a win condition with that. Speeding through the story again, I've reached the final 6. And to start things off, we're going to jump straight into Sebek. Just as soon as Seto opens that door for us. Come on buddy. There we are, back in front of the disappointing duo. Okay, now we start things off with Sebek. Our starting hand sadly doesn't give us anything too different. For this round of the final 6, I'm hoping to at least show off the 3D animations for all the newly added cards. Either that, or find a creative way to beat each one of them with a piece of Exodia. The first duel is as good as done, since I open with 2 Raigeki. We drop the first one, and since this opponent's so nice, we gotta do it twice. After we power up our Dark Magician of course. We attack his face down Labyrinth Wall and pass the turn back to Sebek. He really has nothing he can respond against us with, so we drop a Raigeki for the win and attack for game with Dark Magician. We win. Sebek goes down and he awards us a Yaiba Robo. Well that was quick. We are now on to Neku, who I'm expecting to go down just as easily. Opening up our starting hand, what the pork did I just say? Opening up our starting hand, we draw 2 pieces of Exodia, and I'm wondering if I could pull off an Exodia victory this duel. Either way, we're on to turn 2 and we drop a Cosmo Queen. I can confidently say that it feels friggin' fantastic summoning her without going through the pain of a ritual summon. No 3D battle this time, she had a Guardian Star weakness against Zoa. I would say let's see what we can do in turn 2, but unfortunately we get taken out by Summon Skull. So once more, we have to take things out with a Dark Magician. Well, I gotta apologise early on. My plan was to have a bit more of a variety in the early games at the final 6, but I might have to just grind out the last few duels to show off all the fight animations. Anywho, we drop the beast that is Skull Knight and take out his face down. With a final attack with Dark Magician, Neku goes down, and our red feathered friend awarded us with a Barox. The disappointing duo are out of the way, so we move on to the only opponent that can actually Exodia our Exodia right back at us. So I'm of course talking about Heishin 2. Based on some of the comments, though Simon does have Exodia pieces in his deck, his AI will almost always try to summon one rather than hold it in his hand. Anywho, turn 1 and we have already overpowered Heishin. Guess that's New Game Plus for you. Awesomely, in turn 2, we draw into a Magician of Black Chaos. Kaching number 9 for those counting. But don't worry, I won't be ranting in this video. Let's just show off the 3D animation. Exploding our opponent's cards because it's friggin' satisfying to do that, Heishin responds with a face down Black Skull Dragon. On turn 2, we seem to have drawn into a Cosmo Queen. Sadly, no 3D battle this time because of the Guardian Star weakness. Whoops, oh well. Time for another cutscene. The music can only mean one thing, it's time for another rap. Guess we're doing this now. Oh well. Anywho, here's a rap for the win. Ridiculous, me defeated by this child. Days are numbered, old man, several charges to be filed. Where he's settled, there he is, he thinks he is a god. Never seen a guy so happy gripping someone else's rod. Don't worry, secret safe, or so you would assume. Go and rob that golden ball and reveal your secret tomb. He scurries in the hole, proclaiming he's all that. Guess the Djinn wasn't tripping when he said he smelt a rat. A feeble threat, Seto screams, the item shall be mine. But I'm the hero of this story, so let's win it one more time. Hand his brick, what's the plan for now? We set the queen, we bad at the attack, then wipe his whole side clean. Falling for the bait, summons out a broken dragon. Let's take him for a ride, I'll have Simon bring the wagon. What's that? He's dead? Well, that's a darn shame. Here's some lightning to your face so we can end this foolish game. Seto cowers, he shook, he sets a widespread ruin. Thinking it would trigger, he forgot who he was doing. He thought he was so smart, but he really shouldn't gloat, cause the sharpest thing about him is Heishin's knife to his throat. That was funny, had to laugh, your dragon just went down. Someone better call the circus, cause I found the missing clown. Attacking you direct, did you want to see some magic? Pick a card from my hand, every option will be tragic. Landing on the final turn, we're stuck with the decision. Killing you with masks or with skull knight precision. Doesn't matter, who cares, the duel will end the same. I am done with this playthrough, Dark Magician hit for game. Never thought I was going to do one of those again. Anywho, Seto3 is defeated and the next cutscene plays out as per normal. If you needed a rap for this part, I got you covered. There's already one inside the trivia video for the machine run, and if you wanted just the full song on itself, it's called Darknite Rap. It's on my channel, you can go check it out, or don't. I still love you anyway. We are now up against this game's underworld deity, Darknite. I'm hoping to show off the 3D animation for Mask of Shine and Dark, so fingers crossed we draw into it. And turn 1, we have more Dark Magicians. In hindsight, I should have probably put more than one copy of the card in my deck. Oh well. The upgrade to this deck from the Pocketstation is very minor, but not negligible at least. We've gone from a single attack stat of 2500 up to 2900, which is pretty good as it's one equipped card saved against the Gate Guardian. As you can see from this challenge of the final 6, the extra cards aren't really making much of a difference. We have finally drawn a Mask of Shine and Dark in our hand. Let's summon it and check out its 3D animation. I was not expecting the damn thing to be that huge. Either way, we had a defense point tie against Harpy's pet dragon, so no exploding cards for us sadly. We are now on to the last turn of the duel. We activate a Raigeki for the win and attack for game with Dark Magician. We win. And we got a Pale Beast. We are now on to the final opponent of the game. And this is my last chance to trigger Exodia. I've shown you all the 3D animations thus far, but for this duel, I need to win via that condition. If things start to take too long, I don't know, I guess I'll beat Nitemare individually with every piece like I'm some sort of Dead Space alien. That'd be pretty cool too. I'll add that to the run backlog. But for now, we've summoned out something that can wall off a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. That 5150 Skull Knight is all we need to stand up against Nitemare. So let's just sit back, empty out our hand, and see how long it takes us to get to Exodia. Ironically, what I'm looking for is to not draw pieces of Exodia. That way I have more of my hand to dump out each turn. Well, so much for that. We drew 2 legs. This means we can only throw out 2 cards every turn. But thankfully, at least one of the other 2 cards was Raigeki. Based on our current draw, we have 1 slap and 2 kicks. For now, we summon out a Cosmo Queen and regrettably forget to put her into a different Guardian Star. But not all is lost, we drew Exodia's head. Fingers crossed next turn we get the last piece. Tick tock, he summons out nothing of note, and we don't draw Exodia. Almost forgot what sort of game we were playing here. Why would it ever want to do what I want it to do? And poor Cosmo Queen, that Venus Guardian sign is horrendous against the final 6. If you so happen to play her, please just switch it to her other one. 15 cards left, let's see how we go. Time for the deck ranking. Pocketstation Spellcasters sit above their regular counterparts, but below Pocketstation Insects. Our strongest card is Cosmo Queen. Insects had, perfectly ultimate Great Moth, so I think it's fitting that it sits there. We are now onto the trivia block of this video. Please feel free to jump to your favourite card using the timestamps. I'd like to apologise in advance. I recorded a good deal of these when I was sick, so you'll hear my voice and audio fluctuate between entries. So without further ado, first card on the list is Akakeisu, or Red Ace when translated to Japanese and strangely Greek. It debuted in the OCG in Booster Pack 7 and has not been reprinted since the making of this video. This card has not had any anime appearances. The next card on our list is Ancient Sorcerer. It too also debuted in the OCG in Booster Pack 7 and has not been reprinted since the making of this video. This card has also not had any anime appearances. As for its artwork, the kanji written on the red ball thingies on its staves read Advance, Create, Forbid, and Ascend. The next card on our list is Angelwitch, or Fairy Witch if you're looking at the physical card. Angelwitch, or Fairy Witch, debuted in the OCG in Booster Pack 2. This card is a counterpart to Witch's Apprentice, and like with all counterparts in Forbidden Memories, shares the same 3D model, albeit recolored. And before you say it, Witch's Apprentice is a counterpart to Witch's Apprentice, not this card. They are both redheads and Angelwitch is blonde. In some of the early Yu-Gi-Oh games, this card was referred to as Angelwitch instead of Fairy Witch. This was due to the translating conventions at the time, where most English cards with the word fairy had their name referred to as angel in Japanese. This card likely had its English in-game name written closely to how it was pronounced in Japanese. The next card on our list is Aqua Madoor. There is actually a fair amount of trivia for this guy. Aqua Madoor debuted in the TCG in the Legends of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and was actually the first water spellcaster monster. This card has had a few counterparts and enhancements. Its counterparts are Wave Crest Madoor, and its enhancement is Neo Aqua Madoor, which in itself also has two counterparts, those being Light Ray Madoor and Glacier Aqua Madoor. How can you tell the difference as to which counterpart is which? Simple. Neo Aqua Madoor has an ice wall, whereas regular Aqua Madoor does not. In terms of artwork, this card appeared in the artwork of Magical Stream, and for its anime appearances, it appeared in Yu-Gi-Oh! Episode 54, played by Kaiba in the dueling robot fight. It then popped up in episode 159 in one of the many cards in Darts' card vault, shown to Rex and Weevil. In Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, it also made a minor appearance as a dual monster spirit. The next card on the list is Buku. Buku appeared in the OCG in Booster Pack 2, and allegedly got its name from how a Japanese person would pronounce the English word for book, Buku. It has had no anime appearances, and that is literally all the trivia on this card. The next card on our list is card number 708, and that's Cosmo Queen. You saw the 3D animation for this card during my ritual video, and also the process to ritual summon it. But nonetheless, to give a recap, Cosmo Queen is obtainable in Forbidden Memories via Pocketstation, or you can ritual summon it using Cosmo Queen's Prayer Queen of Autumn Leaves, Queen's Double, and Princess of Tsurugi. Cosmo Queen first released in English as part of the McDonald's promo cards back in 2002 in North America. It then sat there hidden away for 10 years until it was released worldwide in Legendary Collection Yugi's World. Cosmo Queen itself has two retrains, those being Cosmo Brain and Cosmo Queen, the Queen of Prayers. The artwork of the card is also featured in the card Battle Constant. As for its anime appearances, it appeared in Yu-Gi-Oh! Episode 120, summoned by Gozaburo Kaiba. Then again in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX in episode 97 by the Dr. Collector against the D. And lastly, it appeared in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V episode 126, where it appeared in Leo's explanation of how the Solar Vision technology was developed, like with almost every other card in that friggin' anime. And that's about it for Cosmo Queen for today. We now move on to Curtain of the Dark Ones, another Dark Spellcaster. This card appeared in the TCG as part of Astral Pack 3 and hasn't been reprinted since. The monster features on the artwork of Flower Cardian Cherry Blossom with Curtain. In the TCG, this card fuses with Mystical Elf to make Kamion Wizard, whereas in Forbidden Memories, if you did that, you'd end up with Dark Elf. So yeah, much stronger and much happier. The next card on the list is Dark Elf. You saw this card in 100% of the Spellcaster video. It did not leave my deck. This card is obtainable in Forbidden Memories from Seto3, or as a card password, which costs a measly 160 star chips. Why didn't I do this in the challenge run? Simple. Orange Goldfish moment. I forgot that I could buy this card. So instead, I fused an elf with a Dark Spellcaster to bring it out. Not that much of a problem. Anywho, Dark Elf is a counterpart to Mystical Elf, and like all counterparts in Forbidden Memories, it shares the same 3D model, albeit palette swapped. Despite being called Dark Elf, it is not part of the Dark archetype. Since Dark Elf debuted in Metal Raiders, this occurred well before the concept of Dark cards were released in Phantom Darkness. It instead is considered a recolored counterpart, one of 100 recolored counterparts to be exact. And that's about all there is to know for now for Dark Elf. The next card on our list is Dark Magician. This card should be its own friggin' video. There are so many things about Dark Magician and I am not the right person to do it justice. Instead, I'm going to pick out a few fun facts and try to keep this one short. Dark Magician has 23 different artworks across duel monsters. I'll put them all up on screen. The first three come from the original Bandai version of the game and the manga. The next artwork is from its Labyrinth duel in the manga, and the next set of 9 come from the OCG and TCG games themselves. The 10th iteration was an OCG only promo card from the History Archive collection. And the next 4 are also OCG only, and they came from Coco's promo, the 7-Eleven promo, the Tokyo Dome promo, and the Unity and Pride promo. The next version is its Rush Duel iteration. These next 3 are from Dungeon Dice Monsters, and the last one is from Dark Duel Stories. One thing worth noting about Arcana's Dark Magician, it has a different 8-digit passcode to the regular Dark Magician. Due to an oversight in Yu-Gi-Oh! Dawn of the Destiny, the different card code meant that in-game, you could have 6 copies of Dark Magician in your deck, given that it treated Arcana's Dark Magician completely separate to Yugi's Dark Magician. Happy days there. To finish off on the card artwork, Dark Magician appears in a metric buttload of cards. I'm probably missing a few on this list, but they are Bond Between Teacher and Student, Card of Fate, Dark Burning Magic, Dark Magic Attack, Dark Magic Expanded, Dark Magic Twin Burst, Dark Magic Inheritance, Dark Spiral Force, Destined Rivals, Dimension Explosion, Draw of Fate, Illusion Magic, Legacy of the Duelist, Magician's Navigation, Magician's Selection, Magician's Souls, Magician's Combination, Speed Spell, Speed Fusion, Soul Servant, The Dark Magicians, and Exchange. Whoa, one breath on that one. As for its anime appearances, Dark Magician appeared in 53 of the 224 episodes of Duelist Kingdom. It then appeared in 5 episodes of GX, 1 episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, and 2 movies. I'll end on the naming differences between Dark Magician in the anime and the trading card game. In the German dub of Yu-Gi-Oh!, this card was called Schwarzer Magier, aka Black Magician, but it was printed as Dunkler Magier, Dark Magician on the cards. Fairly simple. As for the Arabic dub of the anime, oh boy, they could not decide on this card's name. Now, I do not speak Arabic, so I apologize for the pronunciation of these next few cards. But in no typical order, Dark Magician was called Faris al-Zalam, Dark Knight, Sarhir al-Zalam, Dark Magician, Haris al-Zalam, Dark Guardian, Warakat al-Zalam al-Ijba, Wondrous Dark Card, Faris al-Zalam al-Ajib, Wondrous Dark Knight, and then one day, after witnessing too much Dark Magician girl El-Tanura, he was called Faris Haram. Ending on that ethnic joke before we move to the next card, let's cover off the meme, the myth, the legend that is Dark Magic Ian. Dark Magic Ian originated from Yu-Gi-Oh! Forever. It was a Facebook group, not sure if it's still around. A member posted the drawing that they did of Dark Magician on a piece of white paper, which quickly spread throughout other Yu-Gi-Oh! Groups, as the drawing was, for all intents and purposes, a bit crap, which was easy prey for the bigger fish in the pond, Zodiac Duelist. From then on, it's history. It blew up as a meme and it still exists to this day, and was even on the Yu-Gi-Oh! It was even on my video thumbnail. The next card on the list is Djinn, Witcher of the Wind. This card appeared in the OCG in Booster Pack 1 and has not been reprinted since. Though its name is Djinn, it is not part of the Djinn archetype. The naming is purely coincidental. And that's all there is to know. Next on the list is Eldeen. Eldeen debuted in Booster Pack 3 in the OCG and has not been reprinted since. In Forbidden Memories, she is considered a dark spellcaster. And that's about it. Let's get Exodia out of the way. On screen are all the 3D models for its pieces. In Forbidden Memories, Exodia and all of its pieces are the only cards that are limited in-game. You can only have one of each piece in your deck, rather than 3. In a game where you're forced to always have a 5-card hand, winning purely by the effect of Exodia is a tough undertaking, since you are effectively losing one card slot in your hand each time you draw a piece. Winning that way, however, is almost always guaranteed an S power rank. The Exodia run is on the list, but I'm leaving it to much later. Truthfully, it's a boring run to do since it's so luck based. Funbox did one and it was very retry heavy, even with monsters other than Exodia in his deck. So yeah, not looking forward to trying that one out. The next card on our list is Fairy Gift. Fairy Gift debuted in Legendary Collections Yugi's World and hasn't been reprinted since the making of this video. As for its anime appearances, it appeared in episode 25 of Duelist Kingdom, in Teia's duel against Mai. Episode 147, this card also appeared again as a card spirit. It then later also popped up in episode 183 in the fight against the Orichalcos god, and when we move on to Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, it appeared in episode 34 during the duel between Jaden and Kyberman. This monster appears twice in the artwork of Fairy Dust, and speaking of artworks, it was censored for the worldwide release. I'll get both pictures up on stream. And that's about all there is to know about Fairy Gift. The next card on the list is Flame Manipulator. It is a generic spellcaster in Forbidden Memories, but has the subtype of Pyro. In the TCG, this was the first fire spellcaster, and it debuted in Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. As for its anime appearances, it appeared in episode 63 of Arc 5 in the demonstration of the Friendship Cup. This card also appeared in the artwork of Chain Material. The wiki also says that this card was based off Tetsuo from Akira, but that's a bit of a stretch. Granted, it's an angry dude with powers, but come on, that's a bit of a cop-out of a trivia. Anywho. Next up, we have Gemini Elf. You saw this card during our Spellcaster run. It has both the Elf and the female secondary types, and drops from Heishin 1. Or, you can also use 160 star chips to redeem this card. I too also forgot that I could have done that, but grinding on Story Heishin felt oh too nice, so I kept it going. Anywho, Gemini Elf was the first level 4 monster with 1900 attack, appearing as a secret rare in Labyrinth of Nightmare. It has 2 Japanese artworks, with the first making it to the TCG and the other being left behind in the video games. Both the artworks were censored for the international releases to shrink and cover both their chests. The censors, however, did forget to do that for the artwork of non-spellcasting area. According to Yu-Gi-Oh! Falsebound Kingdom, which seems to have invented a lot of the lore for this card, the brunette elf is named Kachua and the blonde elf named Laura. And that's it for Gemini Elf. The next card on our list is Illusionist Faceless Mage. This is a generic spellcaster in Forbidden Memories, and not a dark spellcaster. You know, despite it being a dark attribute and also being compatible with all dark equip cards. Nope, generic spellcaster. But hey, I don't make the rules for this game. Illusionist Faceless Mage debuted in Metal Raiders and featured in the Duelist Kingdom anime in episodes 2, 16, and 26. Though for 16 and 26 it was a card in Kaiba's briefcase. It also has an enhanced version of itself called Illusionist Faceless Magician. I'll put that up on screen. There is probably more lore in the manga, but unfortunately I haven't gone into enough detail about it. But for now, let's leave it at that for Faceless Mage. Up next we have Kamion Wizard, and this is a short one. It was part of my deck for the early part of the game, and it was also a Dark Spellcaster. This card itself debuted in Astral Pack 3 and appeared in the anime in the Virtual World episode 104. I've covered the rest of its trivia from other cards. Next up we have Kazejin. I use this in my Final 6 deck. Kazejin is one of the 3 golems which make up Gate Guardian. Being neither a top nor a bottom, Kazejin fits right in the middle of that sweet Gate Guardian sandwich, and was a welcome addition to my deck. Kazejin in Forbidden Memories is a generic spellcaster, which is pretty interesting because the original Bandai version of this card was classified as a dark spellcaster and only obtained the win attribute when it was re-released by Konami. It was also pink instead of green at the time. Let me try and get a photo up for it. Kazejin appeared in episode 20 of Duelist Kingdom and episode 10 of GX, summoned in both instances by Doc in the Paradox Brother duels. And that's about all there is to know about this green golem. The next card on our list is Lady of Faith. It is a female light spellcaster monster in Forbidden Memories, and from the earlier Dryad trivia, she is a counterpart to that card, and like with all counterparts, shares the same 3D animation. She does, however, have her own bubble era retrain called Fashion of Faith. As for the card's anime appearances, it appeared in Duelist Kingdom episode 13, in Yugi's duel against Bakura. It then appeared later in episode 53 in the Johnny Steps episode, and in episode 102 and 104 during the Virtual World deck building clips. And that's about all there is to know for Lady of Faith. The next card is Magician of Faith. It is a light spellcaster in Forbidden Memories and is only obtainable via Pocketstation. In the TCG, Magician of Faith debuted in Metal Raiders and was actually the first spellcaster flip monster. Magician of Faithfulness is Magician of Faith's counterpart. I'll put an image of it on screen if I can find one. Magician of Faith appeared in Yu-Gi-Oh! Episode 12 and 13 in the duel against Bakura. In episode 16 it appeared in Seto's briefcase, 22 and 25 it was played by Taya, 26 again in Kaiba's briefcase, 53 as a poster in the Johnny Steps episode, and 111 used by Crump of the Big Five. In Yu-Gi-Oh! GX it was a dual spirit, and in 5Ds it was part of the stone tablet wall in Zeman's castle. We are now up to card 493, and that's Maha Valo. It's another light spellcaster which debuted in Spell Ruler. It drops from Seto3 or can be redeemed for 180 star chips. The retrained version of Maha Valo is called Maha Valo Light of Heavens. As for its anime appearances, it appeared in episode 54 in Kaiba's duel against the dual computer, in episode 88 as part of Marek's flashback, in episode 103 in the duel between Taya and Crump, in 104 in the deck building episode between Joey and Johnson, and then we moved to GX where it appeared in episode 85 in Pegasus's flashback. It did also make an appearance in episode 126 of Arc V in Leo's Solid Vision explanation, like with every other freaking thing in that anime. Up next we have the card Maha Sorcerer. You saw it in my ritual video. Maha Sorcerer is a dark spellcaster, and one of the ritual materials needed to create Mask of Shine and Dark. The card itself debuted in the TCG as part of the Metal Raiders pack, and has not had any anime appearances. Strangely however, this card has a Toon counterpart called Toon Maha Sorcerer, which itself did make it to the show in episode 149 during Alice's duel against Kaiba. We now move on to card 495, and that's Musician King. I skipped this one in my original playthrough, as I was already strong enough to beat the game without it. Musician King in Forbidden Memories drops from Seto3. It's a strange card in terms of fusions in Forbidden Memories. It has 2 fusion trees, one of them requiring Hibikima as the initial material, and the other one using Sonic Maid. I haven't been able to discern the criteria other than the second monster in that fusion needing to have a Sun Guardian star. Either that or have some sort of angelic or mythical criteria about it. Despite all that, the TCG fusion uses Witch of the Black Forest and Lady of Faith. Witch of the Black Forest not being on the list of fusions for either tree and Forbidden Memories. As for the card's anime appearances, it appeared during the Johnny Steps episode, and that's it. Time for some Lamp, and our next card is Mystic Lamp. Weak card at first glance, but when fused with a Spellcaster, it turns into Lord of the Lamp. I couldn't use it in the Spellcaster run as Lord of the Lamp is a Fiend monster and not a Spellcaster. Moving to the TCG, this card first debuted in Metal Raiders and in the anime appeared in episode 2. It was on screen when Yugi was explaining the properties of monster cards. We move to card number 179. This one's going to be a short one. The monster we're looking at this time is Phantom Dewan. Phantom Dewan is available to the player in the initial deck in Forbidden Memories. Nothing of material worth noting about this card. It has no anime appearances and its only release was in the OCG Booster Pack 1. It hasn't been reprinted since the making of this video. We move on to the next card, which is Saggi the Dark Clown, another Dark Spellcaster in Forbidden Memories. As a card, it was released in the original Bandai version of the card game, whereas in the TCG, it debuted in Metal Raiders. The monster itself actually had a number of releases as an action figure. Unfortunately, none of the details of this are recorded in any of the wikis. This part, I'm going to be relying purely on my memory. It's been released as a standard non-articulated action figure. It then had another release as an action figure which shot a projectile of dark light. It later on from that point, I think at the same time, featured on the metallic Tarzos from the Twisties chip packets. Uncertain if that was just something in Australia, but that is what I remember about this card. Onto card counterparts and other releases, there was a caricature version of this card named Masahiro the Dark Clown. The caricature was awarded as a prize to the second national tournament winner in Japan. There's a bit of contradiction between the fandom wiki and Yugipedia. On the fandom wiki, there's a line stating that this card is actually fake, and the source cited is Kevin Tawad, who at the time held a senior level position at Upper Deck Konami. Yugipedia says no such thing. Going by my track record of both wikis, Yugipedia is correct. And you know, for the sheer fact that he had no involvement with Japan at the time, number one, and number two, there's no mention of that for the other two prize cards, which I have seen going for auctions somewhere on the internet. So yeah, screw the fandom and screw Kevin as well while we're at it. Getting back to the card's anime appearances, it appeared in Yugi's duel against Kaiba in episode 1 and 22, and then again in a duel against Pegasus. It then popped up in a bunch of flashbacks from episodes 8, 74, 109, 106, 131, and 223. And that's it for Saggi the Dark Nutsack. We now move down to Secretarian of Secrets, another Dark Spellcaster in Forbidden Memories. There isn't much on this card other than it having a debut in the OCG as part of Booster Pack 1, and then being released in the TCG in Tournament Pack 8. The artwork of this card surprisingly was censored for the international release. The Japanese version had a hexagram on this guy's head. Don't know what their fixation was for satanic and religious symbols, but needless to say it was censored for the global release. Up next we have our friggin' MVP, one of two, Skull Knight. I likely already covered this card in some of the earlier videos, so I'll keep this section brief. Like Saggi the Dark Clown, this card was also a caricature prize for the second national tournament. It was called Yasushi the Skull Knight, which strangely says that it fuses with Ultimate Offering and Witch of the Black Forest. Since it's not a playable card, let's let the man have his fun. And speaking of things which were the opposite of fun, Spirit of the Mountain. A generic spellcaster and one that I probably could have skipped for my playthrough. It is an OCG only card debuting in Booster Pack 4. As for its anime appearances, it popped up in episode 34 of GX in Kaiba Man's duel against Jaden. Here we have another short one, and it's Spirit of the Winds, an OCG only card appearing in Booster Pack 6. The artwork of this card was censored for the international card release and for the games. It hit her crack, and that was it. We now move on to the Bewitching Phantom Thief. The wiki says that this card is a counterpart to White Magical Hat. However, Forbidden Memories uses a different 3D model for both these cards, so I'm inclined to refute that. Moving to the anime appearances, this card appeared in episode 10 of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds in Yusei's duel against Armstrong, and then again in episode 14 when Denzen shows this card to Blister. That's about it. There is more trivia on this card, but I'm purposely leaving it out of fear of misinformation. It looks a bit sus on my end, so it's best to leave it be. Instead, we're going to move on to Time Wizard. And oh boy, there is lots on this bad boy. But for the sake of not rambling on too long, more than I've already have, I'll just cover off Forbidden Memories and maybe some other games. Time Wizard is a generic spellcaster in Forbidden Memories, and most commonly known for creating Thousand Dragons. Did you know that it can also do one better? Fusing Time Wizard with Embryonic Beast will result in a Summoned Skull. Yep, you heard me, Summoned Skull. This is actually the only combination that makes that monster which doesn't use Job Chain's Mirror. Though Time Wizard is 999999 Starships via card password, it is thankfully a common drop from Simon. So get in there, go make yourself some skulls. Anywho, for those that played Dark Duel Stories, Sacred Cards, Reshuffle of Destruction, Time Wizard's effect lets you convert all baby dragons on the field into Thousand Dragon. Though if you manage to keep them long enough till you draw it, you're probably winning the duel already. Dark Magician into Dark Sage is another combination that uses this card. As for Duelist of the Roses, this card is busted. It turns all dragons under 2400 attack into Thousand Dragons. Not just baby dragon, all dragons. Moving back to the card game, the Bandai version of this card was a spell card, mirroring its appearance in the manga. Konami, however, converted it into an effect monster, and we'll cap it there for Time Wizard. We now trickle to our next card, which is Water Magician, a generic spellcaster in Forbidden Memories. Do you know what it wasn't in the TCG? That's right, a spellcaster. Water Magician is an Aqua monster in the TCG, and in Duels of the Roses, and Dark Duel Stories too. Forbidden Memories for some reason classified it as a spellcaster. Your guess is as good as mine as to why, especially given Dark Duel Stories 2 came out before Forbidden Memories. Add that to the rant pile. Getting to our last couple of monsters, the next one is White Magical Hat. It's a light spellcaster in Forbidden Memories. Like with Bewitching Phantom Thief, the wiki says that it's a counterpart to that card. But again, different character models in Forbidden Memories. It also says that the Great Phantom Thief is a counterpart to White Magical Hat. If anything, according to the card's lore, it's a rival to this card, and you can see it in the artwork of Fighting Dirty where they're clashing against each other. Moving on to the anime appearances, it appeared in episode 13 of Duelix Kingdom, in Bakura's duel against Yugi. Then again in episode 36 as a flashback, and a minor appearance in episode 60 as one of the cards sent flying after Koji's defeat. Moving to 5Ds, it appeared in Yusei's ground duel against Armstrong. And that's it for the White Magical Hat. We move on to the next card, which is Witch of the Black Forest. You saw the 3D animation for this card during my battle in the final 6. Witch of the Black Forest is a dark female spellcaster in Forbidden Memories. The monster itself is a counterpart to Goddess with a Third Eye, and thus shares the same 3D animation. The card has had a few anime appearances. It started in episode 41 after Duelist Kingdom in Rebecca's duel against Yugi. It then popped up in episode 53 in the Johnny Steps episode. In the virtual world, you also see it in various deck building scenes and flashbacks in episodes 102, 106, 109 and 115, and then it appeared in episode 193 in Rebecca's duel against Leon. And lucky last, it appeared in episode 223 in Yami's duel against Yugi. And that's it for Witch of the Black Forest. We're now on to our final card of the trivia, and that's Witch's Apprentice. Witch's Apprentice is a dark spellcaster in Forbidden Memories, and a counterpart to Angelwitch/Fairy Witch, as seen by the shared 3D animation models. There isn't much trivia on this card, sadly. The only thing of note is the Link version of this card, called Wee Witch's Apprentice, as mentioned in the Angelwitch/Fairy Witch trivia. This card, like many of the other females in this trivia list, will likely make a reappearance when I eventually do the female run of this game. Be patient for that, I will eventually get around to it. And that brings us to the end of the trivia block of this video. Thanks for sticking around. Hey everyone, Jono here. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I've recently hit 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. I genuinely have no words, just some big feelings right here, and I have all of you amazing people to thank for that. Before I sign off, I just want to give a massive shout out to all my YouTube supporters and my Twitch supporters. In no particular order, they are Lily Laser 666, Delta Sith, Brian Kim 1098, Wizards First Rule 57, Kalut 731, Shanna Hart 33, Gigyako 101, Madios UK, Ranger Phantasma, Newbie Doobie Doo, Lolman Boss, Maku JD, Dark Adder 69, and Alexis Bexus. You are all awesome and I appreciate the support. The next video is going to take some time as I've hit the busy period of the year, which hasn't really given me much downtime to make videos. But never fear, I release shorts every week and often run 24-hour Twitch plays bots once a month. So while you're here, be sure to subscribe to both the YouTube and Twitch and hit that bell icon to stay notified of my next videos. As always, stay awesome people. Hope you all draw a Raigeki for the win, and I'll be seeing you all soon.